So, Lone Rider here, and I just wanted to throw a bit of advice out there for anybody who, like me, is a cyclist. And that is check the parts of your bike that you can't really see, the parts that are internal or hidden behind other parts, things like your bottom bracket. Um, Now, this is less of a issue with more expensive, newer bikes where things like ball bearings are sealed or self-contained. In some cases, you not only don't have to grease them, you don't have to adjust them. But for a lot of bikes that are still out there and still being used, both on the street and on the trail in the woods, so whether you're a roadie, commuter, mountain biker, whatever, this may apply to you. The bearings have to be adjusted, and sometimes they have to be greased. So I was last week, the week before, when we had the heat wave. So it was in the upper 90s, but the real field temperature, as the radio news called it, was about 104. I went out mountain biking with a friend of mine, and I had a great time. I drank lots of water afterwards, obviously, but I rode my single speed bike, and it was really cool. It was actually my first time riding since I had a injury to my right side, so I was pleasantly surprised that I had no problem doing it, and it was I'd ridden before, obviously, since that happened, but I hadn't done any real actual mountain biking. I'd ridden on dirt roads and I'd ridden on the street, but this was my first time back to a proper mountain bike trail and my first time on that particular bike, the purpose-built single-speed off-road mountain bike. So it was really pleasantly surprised that I could still do it and that I could do it on my single speed, which is always cool. Uh, well, one of the things I noticed is the bottom bracket was making a lot of weird noises. And my bikes, as a rule, don't make weird noises because I take good care of them. And this particular one I put together from a frame only. I got the frame used and I built it up. So I was the one who put the bottom bracket on there. So if something was going wrong, it wasn't the shop, it wasn't whatever mechanic I paid to do it. It was me. And I stopped at my friend's bike shop and he kindly let me use his tools and stuff. I have the tools at home to take apart a bottom bracket, but I figured I hadn't done it in a while, and if anything turned out to be really wrong, I wanted to have somebody there who knew more than me. And my friend has been a bicycle mechanic for many years, and I've been a cyclist and a tinkerer with bikes for about 2 decades. He's been doing it longer than I've been alive. So I said, okay, do it there in case, not because I don't have the tools, but because if I need advice, he knows more than me. And he's always willing to help. At this point, I'm going to say a good bike shop is worth its weight in gold. If you can find one and one that's friendly enough to help you out if you need it, go for it. Make sure to give them business, make sure to go there, make sure to tell people about them because at some point, if you ride, you will come across something that, no matter how good a garage mechanic you are, you'll come across something that you might need to count on somebody who knows better. And it always helps to have a friend who's really good at that sort of thing. And just the benefit of the knowledge of somebody who does that for a living is you can't put a price on that. You can't put an assessment on it. It's essential to the maintenance and the continued existence of the sport or activity or way of life of cycling. So find a good shop, make sure to go there, make sure to spread the word about it. And anyway, I took apart my bottom bracket and I found that it wasn't bone dry, but the grease had thinned over the years and it was filthy. So I took the rings that held the ball bearings out. I took this bottom bracket spindle out. This was a traditional old style square taper bottom bracket with separate bearing rings. And in particular, they weren't sealed bearings. So I re-greased everything. I put it back together. I cleaned it off. I should say I cleaned it off and then I re-greased it and I put it back together. And it works fine now. And my bike is no longer making angry noises at me. So it's much happier. But I guess the lesson learned is, people remember to do things like check their tire pressures, check their brakes, check the chain to see if it's worn. A lot of times people don't think about internals. Again, the bearings in your wheels, the bearings in your headset, the bearings in your bottom bracket. And if there's sealed bearings, maybe you don't have to. But if they're not seal bearings, make sure you check them periodically, because you don't want to be out in the middle of the woods, or 30 miles out on the road somewhere when your bike starts, you know, making strange noises at you in protest. So just a thought, you know, maintain your bike, and in particular, spare a second, maybe every 6 months, maybe every month. I mean, it really depends on how much you ride, but you know, make sure you don't neglect this sort of thing, because it is an issue. And even if it was properly installed in the first place, you do need to do maintenance at some point. So, Lone Rider out. Make sure you check your bearings.